Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin Young. He is Josh Tec. And no, it is not a mistake. You're seeing our faces one more time. We know we've been on your feed all day today. Totally fine. Nothing to see here. Nothing. No, lots to see here. Nothing to get worried about. We've been live streaming all day today on X. It's still weird for me to call it X. And YouTube on our Hoop Scene channels. It's the early sign-in period, opening day. A lot of things have been happening. We've been kind of breaking things down from a high level. We've talked about like our 15 or so classes that we really like. We talked about the schools that are going to mess up your bracket. We've talked about some sleepers. We've talked about great fits. Listen, we've danced a lot of dances today.
That's
Your
right.
voice is hanging on. Is your voice okay? You've had a lot more tea and honey than me. I've had just nothing but water.
Yeah, my voice is actually pretty good. I'm pretty energized. I think it's because games have started, college basketball games have started. So if you see me kind of with the wandering eye, it's because I've got FAU and Loyola Chicago on one screen, and I'm looking at Ohio and Troy on the other screen. And we are on our third podcast of the day. We're on hour 3 of podcasting. So my brain's a little delirious. So that makes for a good show, honestly.
This is a stark reminder. I forgot like how difficult it is. I had a 3-hour show 5 days a week for a couple of years when I moved out to Oregon. I forgot like how challenging that is.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So it was like an afternoon drive show kind of stuff.
Yeah, but like with the live stream, we've gone nonstop. We've taken no breaks, so there is a bit of a difference. So it does give me a great appreciation for our friends at Field at 68. Shout out to you guys. It's a really tough thing to do.
Oh God, those guys are the blueprint.
They do such a really, really good job. Really good job. In this episode today, we're going to talk about the ACC. We've already talked a lot about Duke ad nauseum today. They've got an unbelievable class, the top class. Carolina's back, baby. What's that?
Duke's going to be good.
Duke's going to be good. Breaking news. Hashtag breaking news. North Carolina's going to be pretty good too. Really like that class they're bringing in. Miami has got a class that we absolutely love. I don't know if I could say anything more about Austin Schwartz. I love that guy. Love that fit.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about the rest of the league. We're going to dive into that. Notre Dame's got a really good class. We're going to talk about the role of Damon Stoudemire at Georgia Tech. We're going to talk about the state of North Carolina as a whole. We're going to talk about some of these new teams part of the league, which is just kind of weird. We're going to try to figure out what the hell's going on in Louisville. That's all on you, Josh. You can wear that one all you want. But yeah, a lot to talk about as we kind of wrap things up here for the ACC on the first day of the sign-in period.
Absolutely. I think like it's crazy. You and I were talking about this like before we did the show. We're like, man, we talked a lot about the ACC already, but we just talked about 3 schools. Like honestly, like there's so much more with all of these conferences. There's so much more to kind of dig into, and like we might not dive into all of the minutia. Like I wrote the ACC story. I've poured over the ACC. If you asked me right now, gun to my head, what does Wake Forest have coming in? I couldn't tell you.
Well, you probably could. I think you'd be surprised. You know a lot more than you give yourself credit for. So
right, but I think that that we're not gonna, or it's not gonna be like we're gonna break down every single player at every single school. We're just gonna kind of dive into
do that. Yeah, we're
gonna take some of our favorites from the rest, and then, hey, some of our least favorites.
Go read Josh's story on hoopscene.com. We also have a tweet. I keep saying tweet. I'm gonna always say tweet. It's over on X, our ACC Exploration. This is the video version of that. We're going to get into it quite a bit. We're going to do this for like a lot of our power conferences here on the social medias. And, of course, we'll cut it up and put it back out to you on the world so you can go see it and you go take a look at it. But so, Josh, let's go ahead and get into it then. We've already talked about those other schools. Let's talk about Notre Dame. Let's talk about Notre Dame because this is a class. It's a top 20 class. Really like this class a lot. And you think that there's some real theft, some real thievery going on in this class, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a really great class, especially like first year coach. Like this, look at this, like if you're a Notre Dame fan, this year might suck. Like 2020, what are we, 2023, 2024 season? That might be a bad one. What are you going to do? New coach, had a lot of graduating players. Things happen, right? But I think this next class, the 2024 class that we're talking about, is going to be a really foundational one for Micah Shrewsbury. It's got players that he could succeed with, that he's shown that he could succeed with. And it's also got players cut from past Notre Dame cycles, you know what I'm saying, that have been good. So I think that this is a really kind of sneaky good class that's going to be one that can be built upon.
Well, let's start with Sir Muhammad. And Sir Muhammad is, for a number of reasons, he's part of a trend within the ACC out of this unbelievable class of 2024 for North Carolina natives. Let's start there. But to take it a step further, to your point with Micah Shrewsbury, great coach. We saw him do great things at Penn State. That's why he has a job now at Notre Dame. But defensively, Sir Mohammed, one of the best incoming guys, and maybe right away one of the best defenders in the league.
Yeah, he's gonna be good on that end. But I think for me personally, my favorite thing about Sir Mohammed is his ability to play make for others. Like I remember at Bob Gibbons when they were playing 16U, that Team Curry team was playing 16U.
Yeah.
It was the first day of Bob Gibbons. I was at Mountain View High School, so I was kind of off on. If you didn't know anything about Georgia, I was kind of sent off to.
You weren't sent off.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean sent off like I was cast away, but like Mountain View is not close to what we were.
Okay.
It was the satellite.
You took a journey. Yeah.
I took a journey. Like it was the farthest.
Sent off.
I was cast to the moon. No, but I was at Mountain View, and I remember letting everybody know, hey, this is going to be a good weekend because Sir Mohammed, at the very least, is going crazy over here. And he wasn't like overwhelming scoring, but he was just like, six. What is he? 6'5"? He was 6'5" at the time, I think. Now he's probably 6'6", maybe pushing 6'7", and he was just making he was dropping dimes with the ball in his hand. He really great vision, really good feel for the game. Obviously, he grew up playing it, son of Nazr Mohammed, Kentucky star, NBA star, yada yada yada. So he gets it, right? The guy gets it. He's a smart player, smart off the floor as well. That vision, him as a secondary playmaker, or hell, him as a primary playmaker. I think he's gonna be really good for Micah Shrewsbury at Notre Dame.
Yeah, really good win for Notre Dame. They beat out Stanford ultimately, I think. And maybe there was somebody else, but that was a really good win for Notre Dame, to your point.
For sure. That's the kind of recruiting win that is like, all right, yep, we're in good hands,
Yeah, really good hands. I like their other two. So they've got Cole Serta out of Chicago, who's now down at IMG, and Garrett Sundra, big man out of the DC area. Two guys who are coming from winning programs. Cole Serta, I thought, was probably one of the 5 best seniors on the Under Armour circuit this year. Really good shooter, good size. The type of guard, no matter like honestly, like he's the kind of guy that we've seen with. Oh man, this is when we've been on the air for a really long time. Mike, who's the old head coach of Notre Dame? Mike Bray. Yeah. See, I ran out of caffeine about like 4 hours ago, so my brain stopped working. But yeah, Mike Bray had a lot of success with guys like Cole Serta. I think Micah Shrewsbury will continue that on. Really like him a lot. Part of the Illinois Wolves program, tremendous program. Those guys are ready to play when they get to college. And Garrett Sundra, you've seen him way more than me. What can you tell me about him? And if you're a Notre Dame fan, why would you be excited if he was joining your program today?
So, like you kind of brought up Cole Serta as kind of being like a guard, that Mike Bray had success with. I think Garrett Sundra is a forward that Mike Bray had success with. He's kind of in the Nate Laszewski kind of role, where he's he's not like a bruising forward like we've talked ad nauseum with guys like Emmanuel Stephen and Flora Badunga. He's not that, but he's more of a skilled finesse kind of guy that can step away from the basket. He can play with the ball in his hands. He's got a little bit of toughness, a little bit of grit to him, so he can play around the basket. He can be able to, do his thing around there. But I think he's a guy that by the time he's an upperclassman is going to be a rock solid leader on this Notre Dame team. He's going to be able to do a lot with versatility, and he's used to playing with talent, right? He's grown up playing in what Team Takeover, and then at Paul VI, like, good God, man, you got guys, you got dudes around you, right?
It doesn't get much better than that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's used to playing on the highest level stages. He's used to playing with the highest level guys around him. This move to Notre Dame, this move to the ACC is not going to be anything to him. Yeah,
positionally, they added the right pieces at the right places, probably at the right time to grow and build and establish.
Absolutely. And none of these guys are like, and maybe like Sir Mohammed just goes crazy, but none of these guys are obvious one and done candidates. Yep. None of these guys are obvious 2 and done candidates either. I think these guys are upperclassmen kind of guys that can win with as juniors and seniors.
I would be really excited to see Miami and Notre Dame, like the classes they have coming. Like I think that's obviously Duke and Carolina. It's fine,
right?
But like that's really fun high level basketball being played. A real nice chess match with those guys and play moving forward. So I like that as a potential matchup down the road as a game that I would watch. I would make sure that I go out there and find and watch.
Yeah, especially give that one a couple of years to season too.
Yeah, I'm with you. Those are what we talked about in our other shows, sustainable players, right? Those guys.
Yeah, that's honestly the theme. Like maybe some could consider this class and maybe the 2023 class to be down a little bit. But I think what we're seeing maybe more so if you're a college basketball fan is you're seeing less one and dones or less obvious one and dones and more guys who can stick around for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So maybe it's down from an NBA perspective, but if you're a college basketball fan, this could be a good thing because you got a bunch of guys who are going to stick around at your program, faces you can learn with, faces you can grow with, faces you can kind of learn to love and all that.
Yeah, when we did our best fit draft, right? Like I think we probably could have included all 3 of these guys out of Notre Dame's class.
Yeah,
and been fine with those guys that are on the right school for their skill set moving forward.
absolutely.
All right, let's talk about Donnie Freeman for a second. Let's just get to it. The ACC is no stranger for having high level players. This year we have a lot of guys coming into the league that are really, really good, that warrant a lot of conversation. And Syracuse, interestingly enough, I don't know why. I can't quite figure out why, but we don't – I wouldn't associate them with blue chip talent quite like I used to. And maybe we're starting to see this shift because I think Donnie Freeman is one of those guys that I think a lot of NBA teams are going to come in and check out again, from the DC area, part of that team takeover program. Down now at IMG, right? Is he down there?
Winning.
What's that?
He's used to winning. Like he wins a lot.
Used to winning. And he's got incredible length, a lot of physical tools that you're like, okay. Yeah. I see you. I know. I recognize who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah.
Is Donnie Freeman? I mean, is it possible to be a 5-star guy but also be underrated? Underappreciated is probably, or under-recognized. I don't know.
No, you're nailing it. I think that it is possible, and I think that Donnie Freeman is that because, I mean, we are in this recruiting space as much as anybody. Like we're talking about it all the time. Like we're out at national stuff with all of the peers that anyone knows. How often do you hear Donnie Freeman talked about? Like,
yeah, not a lot, right? At all.
Right? You hear guys like Cooper Flagg talked about like every single day, every single second of every day. I feel like my phone goes off and I hear that someone talking about Cooper Flagg. But Donnie Freeman's a guy that kind of flies under the radar a little bit. He just goes about his business. And you know what he kind of reminds me of? And maybe this could end up being wrong, but I think right now he kind of reminds me of the kind of guys that Syracuse used to get when they were in the Big East, kind of like right before the move to the ACC. The move to the ACC is when the decline in Syracuse kind of started to happen in my head. Like Jim Boeheim got older, the league was a little bit different. It just didn't have that same kind of fire that they once had. But when they were in the Big East, they were still operating as one of the best programs in the country. And they had a lot of guys that reminded me of Donnie Freeman. Well,
he would be great in that peak era of Syracuse basketball, like that kind of player in that zone. I don't want people to mistake this. When Kai Jones was coming into college at Texas, he was a high ceiling prospect guy. Obviously made it to the NBA. There's a little not enough self-awareness. Like he's demanded trade because he probably thinks he's better than he is. But Donnie Freeman's game reminds me a lot of Kai Jones, high ceiling, long forward. That's going to stick in the NBA because of his physical gifts along with his talent that he's brought to the table. So certainly curious to see how that plays out for Syracuse and for young Mr. Donnie Freeman. Really like that one a lot coming into the ACC.
Yeah, I think that's a really sneaky one that like you said, maybe not getting as much love, but Syracuse, hey, if you're up there in that cold, hey, and you know what? I'm always going to call it the Carrier Dome. I don't know what it is now, but I know they changed it. If you're up there in the cold and you're seeking refuge in the Carrier Dome, get excited about Donnie Freeman.
I'm glad you said that. I was watching the NFL the other day, and I'm like, what stadium is it? We're like, oh, that's Arrowhead. Like, can we just call it what it is? Like, I don't know why we keep interested.
Yeah, it's the Carrier Dome. I don't care who's sponsoring it now. It's the Carrier Dome.
A lot of money. All right, Damon Stoudemire took over Georgia Tech. We talked a lot about his hiring when he got the job. And I said it from the beginning, Georgia Tech is way more about being relevant than they are about being good. I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm not saying they aren't good. I'm not saying they can't be good. I'm saying it's way more important to be relevant than it is to be good at Georgia Tech. And if you're both, even better. And now I think with Damon Stoudemire, with what he's building at this class, I think they're headed in that right direction on the recruiting trail, at least bringing in players that put you in a position to be an above the median line within the ACC, which I think is, if you're in the ACC, that's kind of where you want to be. Like the ACC is freaking loaded, man. There's so many good teams in that Georgia Tech is kind of moving into that space. And they went really, we've talked about this multiple times on multiple shows. All they got to do is literally go right across the street. go right across the street in Midtown and go over to OTE, which shares, the same zip code probably as Georgia Tech, as McCamish Pavilion.
Just shares like the same 2-block radius. Like it's like right there.
If you were taking an Uber from McCamish Pavilion to OTE, it would cost you $5.
Yeah, maybe that's just because like Atlanta's kind of expensive now because it's like that close. Like
it's that close. It's that close.
It's walking distance. Like it legitimately is walking distance.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And they went and they got Jaden Mustaf, which I think was a really important guy for a number of reasons. One, because he's a gritty, tough dude that's going to get to the free throw line, probably lead the league in free throw shot attempts.
Jeez, man, like that guy. Go pull here. You on this watching this. Go type in EYBL stats or whatever. Go find Jaden Mustaf. He played with Lou Williams. Go look at the free throw attempts portion, and you're going to see a lot of double digits. That guy got to the line a lot.
He's a free throw line monster.
Yeah.
Cole Kerouac. Who else did they sign? Am I forgetting somebody else?
I believe it's the 2-man class. I thought that they had someone else locked up too. Maybe they did and they didn't, or something. Maybe there's a decommitment or someone that's not signed yet or something like that. But for right now, I believe it's a 2-man class, and it's one that's interesting at the very least. Cole Kerouac is a Georgia native, played at North Forsyth High School. Now he's going to go to Brewster Academy to kind of get some more seasoning there. But he's a guy with a lot of upside, 6'11" forward, has a lot of those skill kind of traits. When he gets more physical, when he gets more tough, when he gets grittier and all that stuff, he could be a guy that really makes an impact. He's one of those guys that's going to be the upperclassman kind of.
Sure.
You grew with him and now you love him and now he's here and he's helping you win games kind of guy. He might not make an impact right away, but he's gonna make an impact in the long run.
Well, I think the foundation is being built for them to be a contender. Again, I think it's important to land local prospects, but I don't think it's the end-all be-all at Georgia Tech. Because you are Georgia Tech, you can recruit nationally because of your academic brand. I think that goes a long way. I'm really interested to see, how do you stack up good classes now if you're Damon Stoudemire taking over the Georgia Tech program? So
yeah, with him and Micah Shrewsbury, that's the key now is kind of stacking good classes on top of each other.
There's been a theme here too. We talked about it earlier with Notre Dame with Jaden with Sir Muhammad. Now Jaden Mustaf, both North Carolina natives. Let's go down the list. Paul McNeil, NC State. Juke Harris, Wake Forest. Who am I forgetting here? There was another. Oh yeah, I go back to Austin Schwartz, Drake Powell, like all these great players that are from the state of North Carolina that are staying within the league.
These are 4 stars at minimum.
Yeah, historic class, and these are all guys that are, individually speaking, all pick places they can go be their own guy, be the either a cornerstone or a featured guy within their starting lineup eventually. And I think Paul McNeil at NC State, I think he's in a sneaky position to maybe be in the best position of all those guys, just having the ball in his hands and being a guy that can probably score the most.
Yeah, and
I don't know, Austin Schwartz maybe as well, but Paul McNeil's in a pretty good situation there in Raleigh.
Was he? I don't know if he was originally from North Carolina. I don't remember, but Trey Parker is also at NC State. I think he might have originally been from North Carolina.
Yeah,
but he went to OTE. So that's just another name to kind of throw in with that. And that duo, Trey Parker and Paul McNeil at NC State, is going to be one that I think. Yeah, that's going to be one that I think Kevin Keats can get some things done with.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Kevin recruit a certain kind of player, right? Like tough, athletic, multi-positional guy that can do well on switches on both sides of the floor. I think this class, for the fit that they have, that they want, they found the right kind of guys, and I think Paul McNeil especially has a chance to be really good. All right, so a little history lesson. So Clemson, I think, always recruits in a way they think long-term, and I give them credit. They do a really good job of finding the right guys to fit their program, to be a player that sticks around for 4 years, that can get better, that you can be patient with, that you can kind of grow. And I think that they've got a guy this year in this Clemson class that's got a chance to be really good. Just look like Hunter Tyson, Denver Nuggets, Amir Sims, great player, and I think he had a cup of coffee with the Brooklyn Nets. I
think so, but maybe I'm misremembering. Dron Velocity Game is another one.
Right, KJ Daniels, and they've all played for Brad Brownell.
You look
and I
at
think Dallas Thomas could be the next guy, kind of like this long wing that can be interchangeable. And I think Dallas Thomas, an Arkansas native, listen, he was actively recruited by a lot of great schools. I think Clemson, I mean, when he committed, I was like, oh, wow, Clemson. I didn't even know they were really involved. And again, I'm not super like in the know with his particular recruitment, but I thought that was a sneaky good one. And you look at their lineage of guys that have come out of their program, Dallas Thomas could fall in that same category of a really good long list of guys that have played for him, for Brad Brownell, and gone on to have a nice cup of coffee at the pro level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think where they are successful in recruiting is kind of, I would say, self-awareness. Like they kind of go after the guys that they know they can get and the guys that can really fit their system. And you look at guys that guys stick around there and they get better there. Like you go look at a guy like Ian Shefflin, who's from back here in my backyard. Yeah. He started there played as a freshman, didn't do like a ton, got better as a sophomore. Now as a junior, I saw the other day, I think he might have had like 16 points in their win, like something like that. Like he's developing into a player that's starting and now giving them like actual like production,
Yeah, for sure. Virginia's another school that does the same thing, right? Like they just kind of find their guys. Jacob Coffey is one of those guys from the Seattle area going across the country. Tony Bennett going back to the state of Washington. Yeah, he's going all the way back across the country to go find a guy, 6'8", really good elbow, free throw line shooter. I spent a lot of time with Tony this summer coming out here to Phoenix he watched Jacob play quite a bit at Section 7. Josh, I just got to ask you real point blank, what the hell's going on at Louisville, man?
Couldn't tell you. I spent a lot of time in Louisville recently. If anyone that's watching doesn't know, I'm from Louisville. They are the reason that I wanted to talk about basketball for a living. So yeah, I've been spending a lot of time there, just relishing in the football program success. But dude, I have no idea. Like, I truly have no idea. Like, just on the court, it's terrible. Off the court, it's somehow even more terrible. I don't know what they're doing in terms of recruiting, which is kind of weird because like it's Louisville. Like you don't look at Donovan Mitchell is right there in the league being Donovan Mitchell. You had Montrezl Harrell. You had guys like Gorgie Jane, guys who have gone off to the NBA and have had long, successful careers, right? You look at Damian Lee, a guy that came through Louisville and, has made a good NBA career, right? Like now it's like, I don't even know, like they have one guy committed and it doesn't feel like they have any kind of like momentum at all. Like you never really see them in like top 5 lists, top 10 lists or anything like that. Where they used to be in everything, So I truly have no idea. I guess maybe they're going to prioritize transfers, but like, I don't know.
It's one of the big mysteries for sure in this 2024 class and moving forward why Louisville is in the place that they're in.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that's not like a lack of like. I can't imagine that it's a lack of NIL because it's one of the biggest markets for college basketball. Like that would be like, I mean, that's like akin to being like, and I'm not saying I don't think that they're on this level, but that's like being like North Carolina doesn't have any NIL. It's like, what are you talking about? Of course they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, like hell, just saying like NC State doesn't have any NIL. Are you kidding me? They're psychos. Like, of course they have NIL. They'll find NIL.
Yeah, it certainly is.
It's just crazy. Like I
mean, especially when you're moving in schools into the league where the race to the bottom is it's pretty bad right now for Louisville because now you've got Cal, you've got Stanford, you've got SMU, you've got all these new schools that are going to be above you. Maybe Cal, maybe not, at least not right now.
Maybe Mark Manson's like.
Yeah, I mean, he could. But yeah, I mean, there's a long way to go kind of just move forward, especially too, like when you look at schools like Virginia Tech, we haven't talked about them either. We need to talk about them.
Yeah, we will.
In fact, let's talk about them now. I mean, they've got a really good 2-man class, went down the state of Florida. RJ Jones, one of our favorite guys there is in this class. I mean, one of our absolute guys. Tyler Johnson, and both of those guys, we've seemed to see them always get really good guards. Shout out your boy B-Rock, 12 points in his debut.
That's my guy.
For the Hokies, but RJ Jones and Tyler Johnson, sneaky 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I really like this one. I think RJ Jones might be one of the most deceptive players in the country because you look at him and you can be. Have you walked into a gym and looked at him?
Yes.
You would peg him as like a bruising forward, classic Big East, maybe like a classic Jamie Dixon Pitt kind of player. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like one of those guys that'll just like beat the living shit out of you. But he's not that at all. He's like a great shooter and like plays more of a finesse kind of game.
Yeah.
Like, I love how kind of he'll just swerve you. You sit down to watch him, you're like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that, but I like what I'm watching. They came through Bob Gibbons, and hey, yeah, he had a really good tournament then. And I think he's going to fit in with Virginia Tech really well because Mike Young is going to really scheme up some shots for him and all of that. He's that program is really built on having good shooters. And hey, RJ can really shoot the cover off the ball.
Yeah, really one of the better ones that we've seen. And again, it kind of goes back into our conversation for this class as a whole, where not that Virginia Tech hasn't gotten good players in the past, but like that's a significant one. This 2024 class overall.
And Tyler Johnson is not a guy to sniff at either, or to patronize at. He's a guy that's really productive across the board. Like, I don't know that I would say that he had like RJ Jones' skill is shooting. B-Rock's skill is, he can shoot it and he can, really play point guard. RJ Jones or Tyler Johnson, pardon me, is kind of just a guy that figures out a way to be productive, whether it's rebounding, whether it's defense, whether it's slashing to the basket. He just kind of takes what the game gives him and just leaves his mark on winning in some way or another.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's round things out here. Again, we talked about Cal and Stanford, SMU. Weird to think all three of those schools are in the ACC. I mean, it blows my mind. Like they kind of became like the afterthoughts. I'd be curious to see what happens, like with their longevity. I don't know. I don't know.
I think another interesting note in the ACC is Florida State. Like, is the Dennis Gates / Charlton Young? Did they take all of the powers from Florida State and transfer them to Missouri? Because Florida State right now just has unless I'm just misjudging. I think they only have AJ Swinton committed. And now I like AJ Swinton as an athlete, and I think he's a good player. But Florida State was pulling in some recruiting classes as just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's a new era. You'll never get me to say I'm a Leonard Hamilton, Stan Jones guy to the death.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not saying they're bad.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of a new era, right? Just in general, right?
Sure. Yeah, I get that.
I still have a belief that they can come over the top rope and get somebody really good and turn them into.
Well, I believe that they're and like this isn't like any kind of shade towards them.
No, I know.
They're still in on some guys. It's just interesting to see that
it's not little.
They only have one guy, but I think Darian Reed still considering them, and I believe BJ Edgecombe might still be considering them if I'm correct. And
they could be making a huge jump. Totally.
If you get both those guys, that's just go ahead and delete this segment, but we'll see. But right now, just an interesting footnote being just looking through and kind of seeing they only had one guy locked up.
Yeah. And they're involved with some really good younger players too, as they are always.
Yeah, for sure.
For Florida State. So ACC, man, really wild league now with all these schools. A lot of mileage, a lot of flights.
They're really hitting every single coast they could ever get to with SMU. Nuts. I know SMU's not in Galveston or wait, is Galveston the coastal city? What's the coastal city?
There's a lot of coastal cities, the big coast, but yes, Galveston is on the coast.
Corpus Christi, that's the one I was thinking of.
Also on the coast, but Dallas, man, it's like so far. It's like 4.5 hours.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not even on the coast of the Colorado River, like Austin could be.
It's on the coast of Lake. It's on the coast of Lake Travis or Lake Dallas or I can't. I grew up there. I should know these things. Anyways, fun class. Notre Dame really good. Georgia Tech really interesting. A lot of North Carolina natives in this league. The ACC, I think, when we look at conference realignment, you got it's like a new blended family, and you got these three new kids. You're like Cal, Stanford, and SMU. You're like, oh, hey, everybody. But then, I think I still feel that way with Boston College. I think I still feel that way with Louisville in the league.
Syracuse to a degree for me.
Syracuse.
And Pitt, honestly, I feel like some of those are just Big East teams.
Yeah. I'm still more of a traditional, the I-85 corridor is kind of my ACC. So
yeah, you still think of Maryland as an ACC team because I kind of do.
I do. Yeah, they should be in the ACC, man. No one throws pennies and nickels quite like Maryland fans.
Maybe they should let us realign the conferences so we can kind of. I'd put Louisville in the Big Ten.
I mean, the way they're playing, they may be in the Atlantic Sun. I mean, no offense.
Hey, playing Bellarmine twice a year, that could be fun.
Could be something. Could be a headache for somebody. But nevertheless, this has been a fun continuation of the ACC. We appreciate you joining us. right here. We have way more to cover on early signing period on hoopsing.com. So make sure you stay logged on. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, hit that retweet button right below or repost or whatever they call it these days. We'd appreciate it. He's Josh Tec. I'm Justin Young. I think we're all going to go take a nap now. I think it's time to call it a day on our content for the early signing period. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you might see us in a couple minutes. You never know.
I got games to watch.
You do have games to watch. All right, Josh, this is fun, man. Appreciate all the things that you've been able to share with us today.
Yes, sir.